Good evening. What's happening, y'all? This is the Wiseman coming to you live from Studio D out of my wife's basement. Here for the Whatnot Reseller Roundtable. I think the first thing you may have noticed before you came into the show today was the new show card. That show card represents the three primary types of people that I know are resellers or are on Whatnot. And the first one is the person that had way too much stuff. The next one, that's the person that wants the social aspect, but also enjoys making some side money and forming friends in that particular hobby or resource group. And then the last one, that one's Johnny Profiteer. He wants to make some money. We all want to make some money, even in the first scenario and the second scenario. It's all about making some money, but there's a secondary or the first primary that you have to figure out. You in here to make money, you in here to be social, or you in here to get rid of some stuff. Because each one of them has different approaches. Now, the best way to get started is with the stuff that you already have, unless you're going to be a retailer and go big as soon as you get here. This broadcast is aimed more at the smaller people. If you want to go big, that's a separate thing. You need to talk to me offline about that because that's a lot more involved. But as far as getting started, well, I would say the first thing anybody needs when they try to get started on Whatnot, besides the obvious. Now, the obvious would be your Whatnot account. Because if you don't have a Whatnot account, you can't sell on Whatnot. So that's like a basic. But if I got to teach you that, Whatnot's not for you. Okay? Creating an account and getting signed up, that's pretty simple. And as far as I know, it's pretty straightforward. Get that taken care of. What I'm talking about is the stuff that you're going to need at the location where you're going to shoot your shows at. And we had a big church sanctuary that we run surplus out of that's very spacious. And we were able to start when we only needed one table. And now here we are 2 years later. And we are so big that I have an active studio in my basement for one style of goods, and then I still work out of the church for another style of goods. It doesn't take long to grow on Whatnot, all right? It's about how you manage the money. All right, now, when you first get in, the first thing you need is a United States Postal Service account, and you don't need it to get into Whatnot, and you don't need it to do your shipping. Whatnot handles all that portion for you, and you'll create the tags on Whatnot. The reason why you need it is the free resources. The United States Postal Service will give you boxes and mailers for priority mail, and priority mail starts at 1 pound, goes up through 5 pounds. At 5 pounds, though, that's it. Not 4 pounds and 15 ounces is really where it ends. At 5 pounds, it becomes ground on Whatnot. Or you got to switch to USPS flat rate boxes. But whichever way you're going, if you're going to be in the 1 to 5 pound package area frequently, you need to get the free stuff. All right? And we're going to go over that in just 1 second. First thing you need to get if you're going to start on Whatnot is really that Postal Service account. You're going to go there and you're going to order these following boxes. I'm going to switch cams for that. All right. I do not do flat rate. I only do regular USPS priority mail. The reason I don't do flat rate is I feel like no matter who's paying for it, they're paying a lot more than they need to unless I want to ship an alternator or something. So this is one of the sizes that you can get for free. I don't use this one as commonly because anything that reaches a pound in my world usually won't fit in this box. unless it's a knife. Whatever you're going to be into, though, may have a different size matrix. These are very handy for things that just fit that niche. The most common box most people will use, unless you're going to be a surplus and big retail goods dealer, is going to be this one, which is 7 1/4 by 6 1/2, and then the shoe box. This one will be labeled as a small cube box, and that one I use to sort out items as they're going on the table. And then this other one's called a shoe box, both of which are priority mail, non-flat rate. Then my most common in larger sizes is the large side-loading box. It's not very thick, but if you buy from me, you know that you probably get a lot of them in your 1 to 5 pound packages. I'm going to get as many of these out as I can because a normal size human is going to be able to hold this and make the transaction across the counter at the post office very easily. Additionally, you can get good size stuff in it. I can get a poncho liner in that. And then the last box, and this one for the longest time was my most common size box. And I will tell you, when I sell surplus at the shop, this is my most common size box. I will go through 100 of these in a month, easy. Back when Big Man was here and he was doing shows, he was able to do a lot more shows than I can do with my schedule. And I think I was going through 200 of those a month, regardless of season. Yeah, I think I was going through 200 of those a month, regardless of season. Obviously, it gets worse in the Christmas time because you're shipping a lot more stuff. All right, the other thing you need to get are 12 by 12 by 12s. And as you can tell by my frantic looking around, I didn't put one over here. So I'll try to remember to put that in for you people on YouTube. But a 12 by 12 by 12 is literally a brown box that's 1 foot cubed. And that's the size that Whatnot thinks you're shipping all the time. No, they're not all flat rate. Now, in the particular office you have engaged in, they may only have them present in flat rate. Excuse me, flat rate. I can't speak on that because I know in my post office in Burkeville, only flat rate is available there, and that's because I gave them to them when one of us ordered the wrong ones. Yeah, unless there's some like rule I don't know about, but my shipping, once it gets to 5 pounds, it puts it up to ground advantage. So that's the rules that I'm living under. I don't know if that's something that we somehow selected or not. All right, the other thing you're going to need is something to ship under 1 pound. And if you try to use a box, it usually puts it over 1 pound. So poly mailers. If you're like me, you like them to be a little different, so you pay a little bit more. And I don't always use the same colors. What I'm doing there is I'm setting the standard for my most commonly dealt with post offices I'm training them to recognize my packages. Just like God made me look a specific way, and they are trained to recognize me, they are now also trained to recognize my packages. And they know that attached to my packages is kindness and a genuine care about what happens to that package after it leaves my possession, if you know what I mean, you know? So they look after it while it's in their care. Or if they find something if I tell them that I have a problem, they work with me very quickly, usually. I do have one that I have one that I'm not always sure whether or not we're connecting while we speak. But most of the other ones, no problem. But this one, that person, I just don't know. They might just always be like that. So get your United States Postal Service account. Order for what you got times 4, okay? Because if you can flip all your inventory in a week, man, you are set. And you can probably go out and source more inventory. And you're going to need to have some cushion in the amount of boxes you have. When you order them, it's usually 13 days before I even see that they have shipped. 13 days is a long time to wait, and it's a long time to scrounge boxes out of the dumpster behind Dollar General. Trust me on that one. I've done some scrounging to get some boxes before. I've done some things I ain't proud of and things I probably wouldn't talk on video about. Moving on. Get the poly mailers, get 2 sizes, and get padded envelopes if you have breakables, small breakables. The next thing you're going to need is the ubiquitous tape gun. And my understanding of the word ubiquitous, because if any of y'all are professor, I don't want another email like I got when we talked about glandulars. You need a tape gun, and you need a source of tape. Tape ain't cheap, yo. Alright? Tape is not cheap. If you're going to commit to this, tape is one of those places where you show your level of commitment. And I am not joking around. Like, when you start going through tape, there are going to be days where you suck down a roll and a half and you're like, I only have another half a roll. I haven't got any money in from these because I'm brand new to Whatnot and I got to sell 1,000 things to guarantee to Whatnot that I am worthy of their buyer protection promise that they make. And the music went down. When they come to my stream. That's what Whatnot's doing. They are making sure you are worth their backing. Of any complaint I've ever had, I was surprised to know that it existed when my matrons went from 99.9 to 99.8. And I was like, I sell thousands of products a month. How did that happen? And I looked, and here, Whatnot's buyer's protection was taking care of things in the background that I would have taken care of anyway. And most of the things are actually outside my control. But they're making sure that when they talk to the customer and they satisfy the problem, they're making sure you're worth it. So make yourself worth it. You understand what I'm saying? Do all the right things that you can and get it out the door. If you do the first thing, sugar. If you do the right thing the first time, you'll be fine. But you're not going to. All right? You are going to have mistakes, and Whatnot knows that, and they're going to back the customer's satisfaction. And they're going to do that without ever talking to you in most cases. Unless there's a question on their part, because they can see your messages. So if you've been talking to them, they know you've been talking to them. Keep that in mind when you're dealing with Whatnot. Whatnot's taking a risk on all of us. You know, we could take them and run. You know, that's why when you get unscrupulous sellers, you need to tell each other as buyers, you need to be telling each other who the unscrupulous sellers are so that they don't become a large enough problem because they don't get enough traction. All right, you need a tape gun. The tape gun, for me, tape consumption was so high that my Dollar General used to stack 2 6-packs. They used to have 2 of them all the time. Then when I got into business and we were still what I considered small during the booming phase, next thing I know, we're clearing that rack off, and they don't refill it for another week, and one of us has to go to the city. And that's just not how we roll. So when I got around to tape, I said, this is the point where I'm committing, because tape is so expensive. I probably need to get it in mass. And when I started looking at it in mass, the cost of it, you probably already know if you are a seller, but if you want to get into it, the cost of tape is ridiculous, and you're going to consume some tape. I'm going through a ream a week at this point, so 6 rolls a week. So keep that in mind. Find a good source of tape and get a lot of it. All right. Now, after tape, the only thing I didn't show you was the 12 by 12 by 12s. You can get those on eBay. You can get them on Uline as well. Jam packaging. Oh no, surplus, dude. My tape, I got 15,000 rolls of it. That's why I said when you get to the tape level, that's when you're making a commitment. When you buy 15,000 rolls of tape, that's a commitment. I made a lifelong commitment to this at that point. Amazon Extreme. I've never had a good tape experience on Amazon. All right, the last thing you absolutely have to have is a scale. And yeah, I don't buy tape. I got 15,000 rolls. And by the time those are done, I'll probably be retired. All right, so you need a scale. This is a standard kitchen scale. Anybody can get going with this, but you're going to find out real quick if you do big things that it ain't worth it. You need to get one of the big platform scales. What I do is I get on eBay, because I have an eBay account and I sell things on there. I get on eBay and I find the best reviewed, lowest priced, which means you're looking for an average of the two. But I get on there and do that, and then I always buy 2 of them. And it doesn't matter if I still have one from the last time, one broke, then that's my backup. But if I'm buying one, I'm buying 2. No, but there is a guy with the name CC Ray that never clears. He's just newly come around. Yeah. I told him in my stream the other night when he bid that he needed to do something about it. Yeah. All right. Well, I was contemplating whether to block him or not because I couldn't figure out if it was malicious. But I also didn't look at my analytics because he did it twice last week and he gave me like 5 offers and then didn't do anything with it. It wouldn't go through. Yeah. Well, I don't know whether or not there are bots. I do know that sometimes when I've watched certain streams, I will see the same name on a series of items across a few brands that always seem to take it up to a couple bucks over the wholesale price. But I have only observed in one category at that level. I'm sure if I got into Pokemon or if I got into electronics, I would see it as well. Yeah, I also contemplated whether that person might represent one of the less than scrupulous people on the platform. Maybe they figured out some jive to try to slow us up. I don't know. All right. An item you don't have to have, but you will probably want to get, especially if you do retail, is the scanner. Now, the scanner Mine from my point of sale works. It just needs to be able to see a barcode. I don't know if you can hijack the medical scanner from work and use it. I wouldn't try it. It's probably a particular type. So, the scanners don't cost much. Probably $39 to $59. I'm just guessing. All right, so the scanner's very helpful, but the most important thing out of everything after shipping is going to be your inventory. You either already have inventory, or you need to have enough money to establish your inventory quickly upon registration with Whatnot. Because when you register with Whatnot, there's usually a bonus if you do a show within 7 days. Do the show within 7 days. Don't do your Whatnot registration and let it sit, because that was free money you could have put into something else, and they don't care. They're going to write it off, you know? So take the free money. Every time they offer free money, if you can do it, do it. My experiences haven't necessarily been good, but I got a pretty screwed up personality, so sometimes people just don't like me, and it's okay, you know? I get it. I probably wouldn't want me to help me in the Dollar General parking lot either. But some people take a spiritual opposition to me because I am open about I am a servant of God, and I'll take that AK bullet if that's what you got. You better bring some friends, though. So when they take that spiritual opposition, there's nothing I'm ever going to even know or be able to do about it. So I just don't sweat it. I do my own thing. I've been doing my own thing for 52 years. I got some good friends. There ain't a lot of them, but I got some good friends. And that's how I see my customers as well. They are an extension of my friendship base. If you come to my shop because I'm a hermited away military surplus dealer, I probably know something about you before you get there, because somebody knows you, and that's how you found out about me. Showrod writes that he had tried to get it done. I'm assuming he means within the 7 days, but he couldn't figure everything out in time, so it took him about 10 days to get up and actually get that show. So you miss out on the money. Yeah, it happened to us too. Our first time, when we first got registered, it took us 3 months. I didn't realize that time limit was there. I only realized it when I started my second channel, which is probably going to take over these roundtables at some point. And that one, they told me, or I read all the things specifically, and I saw where it said, must be done within 7 days. Now, if you don't have money to get your inventory together, then this is actually where you find out what you're going to do on Whatnot. Now, if you're like in your 30s or 40s and have had a fairly stable job and have not been displaced due to service to country or schooling changes, then you've probably accumulated some stuff. And when you've accumulated some stuff, there are some things that you probably haven't touched in a couple years. Now, I come from the prepper mindset, so I'm going to use the prepper analogy. You know, I need food, shelter, water. Well, basically, I need food and water, a place to get out of the elements, and a way to keep in mind. Those are the 4 basics of what a human needs. Now, each one of those contains a whole bunch of lesser categories, but you get what I'm saying. So, for me, I would look around and I would say what fits into those categories and what doesn't. And then if it didn't fit in that category, that's probably one of the first things I'd sell. Then I would look at the redundancy of what I had and say, do I need triple versions of everything? No, so I could sell one. Now, you see what I'm saying? The stuff that I have that are extras that are laying around begin to form the genre or category of that which I am into. So, unless you have a business plan that you want to execute on here, you're probably starting out as a way to get some side money or do something extra with some time. And you could start with the things around you. I know when I got started in gun shows the very first time, I was able to accumulate 2 whole tables of stuff to go to a gun show just out of my old military stuff that had been extras I'd accumulated during service. What's up, Tracy? So, look around your place first. Then start looking at what you know and what you're good at. You know, I know guns and I know gun parts and pieces. So, in my business journey, I've done firearms parts, magazines. I've done guns, but that was 20 years ago. Almost. I do grips, and now I do outdoor sporting goods. I have done knives. I have done fishing. I just really like, excuse me, I really like pounding it out in tactical gear, so to speak. I can offer a lot of advice in tactical gear to people that are looking at my goods. So whatever your model is or your hobby, those are the things that you're going to have to work into your category choice. The things around you are always going to be the best way to get started because you don't have to go look for them. If you want to get into retail, you need to get your big business license, and you need to get your distributors before you do your registration, because there's no way you're going to have time to do any of that. You need to have everything in your head, how it's going to run, the places you're going to get it, and preferably the merchandise before you even talk to whatnot. And that's my $50,000 to $100,000 model. If you got $50,000 to $100,000 and you want to do full-on, full-blown retail, and you got the staff to make it happen, yeah, give me a call. I really want to be involved in helping you set up the process of how you're going to run it. You design your show floor. I don't care about that. I want to help you lay out that stream of how does the products come through the door and how does it go right back out the door. That is what I'm good at. I love processes. All right, so it doesn't really sound like you need a lot, right? Let's recap real quick. You need a United States Postal Service account because you have to have the account to order the free boxes. It's not worth, depending on your local post offices, and I say that plural because when you're hunting boxes, you're going to drive to 3 or 4 of them sometimes. Not worth doing that. Get the account and keep more boxes than you need. If it means you got to put some in the attic that you only pull out when it's an absolute emergency and you forgot the other ones, do it. All right, you need a couple poly mailer sizes, smaller ones and then like a big one. All right, you're going to need some poly mailers, 2 sizes. You're going to need the 9x12 and you're going to need the 12x15. And the reason you need those 2 sizes is those 2 sizes fold down to hold just about anything. Okay, so Surplus Dude writes, and that's the key, because the flat rate they get more money on. Surplus Dude writes, the boxes is great info. He had been wondering how you ship in USPS boxes because his office only have the flat rate. Okay, well, I usually don't screen share because it shows you all my intimate... Oh, I'm not going to make that joke because it's going to go on the podcast. Never mind. I'm so sorry. I almost made a very, very bad joke. I will screen share. Hold on. Well, I guess it's not a bad joke because, never mind. I almost gave more away. All right. Good golly. I'm trying to get myself banned. I'm going to get canceled. All right. All right, no transistor pouring up or nothing. All right. So we go to. Damn, I gotta cut that out. What's the timestamp? All right, so when you go to the USPS.com, go to the Quick Tools section and go down to, where the heck is it? Free boxes. It's literally on there. Now, don't just go clicking and grabbing in here, because once you get in here, you can still get flat rates. See how they push them to the top? But if you scroll down through them, you start to find the regular ones. There's 18 per page, and you saw that whole front one was mostly flat rate. Alright, here's my page. Priority mail shoebox. Priority mail small box. You won't need a lot of those unless you do a lot of smalls. Priority mail side loading medium box. That one works, but they also have a side loading large. They're very close in size, so just get the large. And then the APO FPO isn't necessary, because anything you print out that's going to a APO FPO address is going to go with a special label on it from Whatnot. All right, there's that side loading large box I was talking about. 15 by 12 by 3 1/8. That's hefty. That's a good size. And that one was flat rate? No. And then here's that medium cube box I showed you first off. And here's the regular priority mail large box. This is 12 1/4 by 12 1/4 by 8 1/2. It can accommodate most anything you might want to ship. What's up, Soupy Boy? Those liners should be here this week. I put them in with my other stuff to come in. They should ship tomorrow. What's up, Pakshana? Alright, so the USPS, you do need that account to get the boxes. Just get on there and do it. Go ahead and order them. If it doesn't work out, the next Whatnotter, they'll be happy when they go to your post office and there's a bunch of them in the corner that you turned in because you were tired of looking at them. Alright. I can tell you right now, if you want to get into this, just do it. Quit pissing around. Go clean yourself a spot off somewhere. You would not believe it, but this space, there was enough room for me to walk through here from the door that's over there to a space over there where I have a sump pump. That's all the space that was available down here due to the state I was managing. When we made the decision that we could not work in the cold anymore at the shop because the heat broke, we brought a bunch of stuff over here so I could sit down and work. Me and my wife were able to clean this spot out in about 2 days during a period I couldn't walk. So, just because you think you got too much stuff and you ain't got no room, it just means you ain't got the drive. If you got the drive, you can do just about anything. Just about anything. And the Bible says, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, get hence, and it will go. Under the spirit of that, I would say there's not too much that we couldn't accomplish. So, people would argue theologically that would only work if you had certain cause, but whatever. You get what I'm saying. Greater are we than we think. We can do a lot. Be organized, clean up your space, get a postal service account, get some boxes in, take the stuff you got, and get ready to start entering it and whatnot. Then contact them. Surplus Dude says the same thing. His basement has been a disaster for years until the day he decided to do a whatnot stream channel. Now it's a studio. It does not take long. And it can be kind of addicting, especially if you like to tell jokes or engage with the audience. Like, I really like to joke around. So it's fun for me, and it's a really good fit for my personality. Now, if you're getting started and you don't know what you want to do, then you're not getting started yet. All right? The time when you get started is when you can't think about anything else. Like nothing. If you're married, your spouse is tired of hearing about your ideas to sell on Whatnot or eBay or whatever it is. That's when you're ready to do something. If you've got to motivate yourself with the idea, might not be time. And sometimes the best coaching you can get is being told, hey, lifting weights isn't for you, skinny little twig boy, or whatever. But if you are being pulled and you really want to do this, then it's going to be a very rewarding experience. That's definitely for sure. Pakchana says, once you get motivated to do something and stick with it, it doesn't take long. All right, so once you've decided what you're going to sell, you've got all those basic things. Registering and doing your first show, you really need a phone and a computer. If you don't have a phone, I don't know how you saw this, but you can figure it out. The phone doesn't need cellular, but it does need a Wi-Fi connection, and it needs to be a good one. The reason I say you need a phone and a computer is it is so much easier to interact with the computer than it is to interact with the phone. I don't know if y'all picked up on it, but this is my video, or this is what I see during a Whatnot show. And my interactions happen on the left hand, or my interactions with y'all happen on the right hand side. And my interactions with my products happen on my left hand side. Most of you know that. I know that, but and this is where you start things, where you can launch auctions, or you change your buy it now products. And if you have an issue, somebody buys something, you're not sure who it is, you can go back to your sold items. And all of these things can be viewed either as a general or as a search category. Yes, your biggest complaints here are going to be interaction with the back end. And at some point when it's acting up, I will do a screen grab on OBS and try to show it to y'all. But when I do my live shows, I'm broadcasting through OBS, so I don't necessarily always want to take a risk on messing with the buttons up there. Oh, well, here, I'll show y'all again. For those of you that have never done this before, my monitor, did you see it keep dropping my face infinitely? That is crazy. Yeah. So, if y'all actually hit a question mark when you interact with a host, I can see questions here. Anybody that bought anything, it'll move their chats up. And then anything my mods are saying, show up over here. And if it was muted, I could go back to see what they said by going there. Now, I don't use these functions very often. I usually stay in all. So, I usually have a scroll during the screen. This will be scroll, or during the stream, this will be running. There'll be all these other names over here. And that's also where I'll be watching for what my mods are telling me, if I've missed anything. And then on the other side, I can see if people have sent me offers as well. And if you bid ahead of time, it will show up under the pre-bids thing. And now I noticed on the last couple that I did, sometimes I get pre-bid, sometimes I don't. It'll show you that somebody had pre-bid a certain amount. I'm not going to run any auctions, but if one of y'all wants to go in and put a pre-bid on this PS Products thing, we'll go back to it in a second, and it'll show you that pre-bid. All right, everybody's familiar with giveaways. One of the reasons I don't like giveaways isn't the obvious loss, but you're in it now. All right, as y'all can see, Pakshana sent me a hidden mod interaction, so it comes up with these dotted lines around it, so you know not to read it out loud, like I did the other day. Here's where you add in the gibbies. You can't do them ahead of time as far as I know. On the back side of the platform, I believe you have to do it on this side. I create them as a temporary listing because they don't carry from show to show anyway. So this is where we pick shipping profiles and things like that. That's a big one. That's why you got to have that scale. Shipping will screw you up until you kind of figure out the do's and the don'ts. One of the big don'ts is don't get a weird shape. This is not sponsored by Sprite, by the way, so please do not go out there and buy Sprite just because Wiseman buys Sprite, because they told me no. They said until I had my 5th year in the NFL, at my age, they weren't interested. And I was like, I don't even do NFL, and then it went click. So I guess they just weren't interested. It's very good with Jägermeister in it, but I don't have any Jägermeister. Shells Bells for Fun said it is yummy, though. All right. Glock 3969, when you put your listing into the system, can you load your shipping profile at the same time? Yes, it all goes in at the same time ahead of time. All right, so I'm hesitant to take you to my back end. I'm thinking about what's visible in the back end. All right, hold on. We're going to take you in the back end. Oh, I forgot this is a podcast. So if you didn't see that on video, you couldn't see the deep look of contemplation upon my face. Oh, man, that's horrible. All right, so this is the back end. Y'all the first ones I ever brought back here. All right, here we go. All right, this is where I launch my shows from, so if you've done any shows, you'd be familiar with this. But when it comes to inventory, you're going to add stuff here. You're going to create shows under shows. You would do inventory under inventory. Marketing would be coupons. Right now, y'all, I cannot see the chat to hold anything so we can get it in a group. Orders, this is where you look at the individual orders, not the shipments. The orders will be listed in the order that they were purchased. The shipments will be listed by name in the order that the people picked it or bought it from the bottom to the top. Unless they have multiples, they only get their name up once, usually. Then there's a place where you can check how many people tipped you. A place to get your referrals out, to look at your analytics, Finance is where you do your payouts. Rewards Club is where you set your standards and your rewards. Settings, I don't know. Support chat, I've only had to click it when I was a Premier status dealer, and I got it instantly. They instantly responded, a live human. And this is something I will mention. I did $52,000 over the last 90-day period and should have Premier status because, as you can see, I have a 5.0 rating. I have a less than 1 day average ship time. And I have 99 I think I'm actually at 99.9, which is actually pretty rare. No one can get 100, apparently, is what they say. So if you get 100, you're doing really well. You beat me. And I did not get my Premier status for the month of February. So that might be that opposition thing I was talking about, or it could be a clerical error. I'm not sure. But it was not accurate, I can tell you that. And that was their own analytics. All right, so when you come into the back end like this, you can click on inventory. I don't know what it's going to show us right away, but now y'all see why I complain so much about the back end. It's still working. I don't know if y'all can see the differences in the shades as it fades in and out. All right, y'all saw how long that took. So every time we got to engage with the back end, that's how long it takes. All right, let me pull this up where I can get a view at it. All right, and then we can do that. So when you create a product block, it's right here. It'll open up a menu. Okay. Breathe. I am Wiseman. Alright, I'm going to use the barcode function. Oh no, I got too many cameras plugged in. I can't use the barcode. Alright. Alright, hold on. Let me find an item. I'm going to type something in there because I prefer using the UPC system when it's available. Alright, so in this case, I just picked up the first item I saw. It still had a tag on it, and I typed its UPC in. So when I did that, I typed it in the barcode number, and I hit submit. And it propagated just about everything for me. Now, things it's not going to propagate is your category. So in this case, it would be in, this is a morale patch one, so I'd probably put it in knives and hunting. And I use a left to right, all right? I start at the top left because I was taught to read in English, and therefore my brain works this way. So I start in the top left and I go to the right, all right? And I try to cover all my fields as I go left to right. So the image was loaded. The next thing is we need to put a price on it. And I need to decide if it's buy it now or auction. If I switch it to auction, it is going to change one of these buttons underneath there. You see how I changed this one? Turns it off when I go to buy it now, so it'll always be live in the marketplace. In a buy it now product, if you quick reserve for live, the only time people would be able to buy it would be during your shows, which you would select here. Now, for buy it now items, I keep them on all the time. And for auction items, obviously, you can only do it when you go live. All right, shipping profile. to me is actually what's next after show, because I'm already over here and I don't want to waste movement to bring my cursor back over, because I'm trying to do things as fast as possible while I'm interacting with this menu. Alright, and then I get the shipping profiles here. One thing I do not like about them is if you have custom profiles, they always come up first. So every custom profile I ever had to create showed up before I could get to the first 0 to 1 ounce. But if you got to make a rule, learn the rule, follow the rule. That's what Whatnot's programmers would probably say. We got to put it somewhere. You know, just because you don't like it because you got 25 of them doesn't mean the guy with 3 of them doesn't like it. And that would be a very good argument. And I probably just intellectually just bitch slapped myself with that argument. Ah, damn it. I set up. Oh, that's 2 of them. All right. There's going to be a lot of editing in this one. All right. So you put your category in, then your title, which is already propagated in this case. A description of whatever the product is, the quantity of the product, and then the condition. So if it's not new with a tag still on it, or new as it was sent in its general packaging to you in volume, then it's not new. So just because it's been worn once and washed doesn't mean it's new. It's still used. All right. It would be pre-owned good. That's the best they're going to give you. All right. No hazardous materials. I wouldn't know about that. I never ship any, so I don't know. Now, the cost per item, that's particular to whatever the item is, and I'm not putting that on there, so to speak. Now, I would recommend that they publish straight to the show you intend to run them in. So let's say, we all know I don't run nothing on Sundays. It's just buy it now. So I click on the show. Let's say I was going to sell it surplus at the shop. But if it didn't sell it surplus at the shop, I didn't want it in the next surplus show. I wanted it in my plate carrier show. All right. So I can literally choose. I can sell it here in Studio D, which is where I do plate carriers, or I can sell it in the shop. Or I can choose to save it as a draft right now. And that's what I'm going to do, because I want to take y'all through the draft section. The draft section is where you begin building the show in your brain. All right. So let's say you got your first couple shows done, and now you're not just working with whatever you have on hand anymore. Now you are actually able to go and source products specifically to do a show. Uh-oh. Did I lose y'all at all? I hope not. Well, that should be the real look over there that I'm seeing. So, all right, yeah, because that's on a webpage right now. Yeah, and I can move that around. All right. All right, so when we're in the back end here and I'm building an idea for a show. So let's say I'm going to have, we're going to use the thing that's in here, the things that are in here for me to make up a theoretical show real quick. Hold on. Okay. All right, so several weeks ago, I'm not Wiseman right now. I'm Billy Bray Cyrus, and I'm starting my first show. So a few weeks ago, I loaded up a whole bunch of surplus, 10 to 14 pounds of it. And I put it on there. I was like, I just want to get rid of it. And then I was like, I got these MREs. Let me put these on here. All right, that's 3 of them. Man, I don't have that vest anymore, but you get what I'm saying. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to put this vest on here. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to sell this shirt. I'm going to sell this extended slide release and the mag release. You know what? I'm starting to see like a theme here. This is like a sporadic junk drawer for a gun and survivalist freak. All right, because I got slingshots, knives. All right, so this is going to be the Survivor Freak Show. And now I'm adding in things into these drafts that I know are going to end up in that show whenever I get around to building that show. Because I might want to do a whole bunch of throwers in one knife show. So as I'm getting throwers in with other things, if I don't have the concentration to make the kind of show that I want to do, what I'll do is I'll load them into this draft area. And then when I get around to having enough to put on a knife show, let's say all this here, I could run all that in knives. But if I got 7 more SKUs, with that and what I already have on the shelf, I could have a good knife showing because I have 14 different SKUs. It looks like most of them have multiples. Well, half of them have multiples. So I could put on 17 items. That's probably 45 minutes of a show, guaranteed. And that's building up in my draft bank, so to speak, so that when I'm ready, I can finish them out and put them in the show. Now, if I went straight to publishing, it would go over into one of these other columns. If you can see my mouse moving, you would see either active or inactive, and you'll know where it goes over time, but you will still doubt yourself 2.5 years in and $350,000 later. You will still doubt yourself on whether or not you know which category this is supposed to go in. So when I create a product and it does not have reserved for live on it, it should go to active. All right? But there are times, and this really happens with MRE cases a lot, which is how we came to notice this. There are times where it doesn't always work out like that. So you still have to go and review your show after you've put the things in it. All right? And let's say you didn't have any shows created yet, or you only had one show created and nothing in there yet. Well, if you were publishing everything right away when you did the creative product, and you were putting it without the reserve for live, it was going up into what's not sugar. It was going into It is going into what is called the whatnot marketplace. All right. And that's where people can buy things off of people that have never even had a live before. So it is possible to be on here and be as far as I understand. I don't know if for new people maybe you can't do that. But at my level, I can, so I'm assuming everybody else can, because I don't think there's any difference in what I can do and what y'all can do. I've just been doing it longer, so it looks easier. But once you say something's not reserved for live, it'll show up in your active listings. If you say it is... Yes, all right, so Chris B is saying, yes, that is the case. He is sold in here, and he has not held a show yet. So the marketplace, as long as you put your thing, accept offers I like, but you don't have to do that. Just don't reserve it for live. As soon as you reserve it for live, it's not even going to be able to be sold until you go live. So that one's pretty clear. And the ones that are reserved for live will go into this inactive section. Now, inactive products, you can come in here sometimes and figure out what happened to all the stuff you thought was active. All right, and the way you do that is you scroll down to the bottom and you set this joker right here to 100 because that's the most they're going to give you no matter how big you get. Now, as you can see, I've had, not including deletions because we did go through and delete everything one time, 3,857 different listings are in my inactive right now. But if you've been around with me for a while, you know There was a time when there were 600 items in my show. Come on. And this is what y'all hear me cussing about all the time. I know y'all think I'm screwing off and hitting the cocaine or something, but I'm not. I'm really waiting on this machine. All right, so I just sorted it out to 100, so I'm going to scroll down through them real quick. And I'm noticing that some of them have quantity, but they're in the inactives. So I'm going to try to sort them out 100 at a time in this demo by quantity available so that I could make sure anything that's supposed to be in the buy it now is. All right, so this is a good example. Here's a buy it now item. It says I have 4 of them. And it's the Viperade radio holster. I don't have any of those. I know I sold that. And I don't remember ever having 4. But that's why it's inactive, because at some point we saw it in the show and made it inactive. Now, this Rothko GI type D-cell flashlights in black, I have those. And this is a buy it now. That should be live, but it's not. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to come down here to add to show. And it's not in any of the shows. I could only do this one at the house. Oh, kissing me. Thank you for the raid. Not really selling. I'm actually doing tutorials. But I try. I like your logo. In the studio here, I have a much bigger TV and I can see it now. All right, so now that was added to a show. Did you see how it disappeared from here? It now went over to the active side. Once I see this little blue line switch over there, then I start to scroll down, because then I trust that it actually got my command. What's up, Godfather? And now you see why when we go to the inventory screen, you can see why we're cussing so much. This is why we try not to be pissing around in the inventory screen. Sometimes it is actually easier to just keep those item on screens things active and use those when the back end's messing up. I don't know what's going on with whatnot, but this is one of my most frequent complaints. All right, so it went active. Now, it's not going to show up on this page at the top because these are not necessarily in the order that they get added to the active. It's more like the order in which they got added to the inventory in general. So here it is down here. 3 of them left. They're $13. It's new with box and it's in one show. All right. Now, another thing that may make it inactive versus active is whether or not I had accept offer on. So I'm going to click on that to find out if I had the accept offer on. Things that you don't have accept offer on, see? Or shit, not accept offer on, reserved for live. Things that I don't have, or things that I have reserved for live, it won't be active until it's in a show. I'm going to click that off. Now somebody could buy that live in the marketplace. All right. If I click that, they can send me an offer saying, hey, I'll give you a $24.50 for it or whatever. Or if I'm like, shit, this is Rothko, I need to be worried about a third-party policy, I'll go back to click to live and move it to something else. All right? So that's how you work the back end. And you also saw how slow that was. And you can probably understand why somebody with as much stuff as I have, and there are dealers that are humongous compared to me. So I have difficulty with it. Can you imagine what some of these people that have 1,000 active listings, can you imagine what they go through? All right, I hope you liked that little trip into Whatnot's back end. I know I did. I love getting in Whatnot's back end. It's always a long, drawn-out experience, just like you like. All right. We have reached 1 hour and 6 minutes in the actual podcast recording. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you are on Whatnot right now with us, don't forget to hit the follow and the notifications, because I do sell things, as you can see through the shop. All right, anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions? Wow, when that's up on that TV, I can actually read it without glasses. Yes, we are DSOVN on the YouTube. And I believe if you click in the notes, yeah, some of my more recent reseller videos are in there. All right, anybody got any questions? Anybody already in Whatnot and doesn't know why something's happening to them that I might be able to handle? I cannot answer postal service questions because ultimately once it leaves you, your job's done. It's up to them. Nothing that can be done about it. He doesn't call her right, dumb thumbs. Yeah, he hasn't made contact since he left. If he does, though, I will say something. It is what it is. Talk to you later this week, Locke. Take care. All right. I am scheduled to be on tomorrow in Surplus at the shop at 12:03. I think that's still a hard date for me. After that, I don't think I have another show scheduled till Thursday, which is also Surplus Day and Studio D Day. So Thursday will be at the shop during the day, and we'll be here in Studio D in the evening. Now, I have one more slot open on Wednesdays. If anybody wants to get into the tutelage program, that is part of my life coaching business. I'm not charging for the people that are making this or they're doing this through Whatnot, because I would like to train sellers. I like that idea. I think it's a good idea. I'm only going to extend that to a few more people. Right now I got Wednesdays. I can do an hour on Wednesdays. All right. That being said, most of my stuff is live, and you can find it in the marketplace as well. All right, y'all, be nice to each other. God loves us all. We don't need to make this place suck more than it already does. There's enough shit-ass humans out there. Man, I can't quit cussing today. There's enough terrible humans out there. Don't be one of them. Remember our creed, those of you that are cult members. Protect those weaker than yourself and make the 3 feet around you the best place anybody can be today. If you try real hard to live up to that, you'll do all right. Changed my life. All right, y'all. I'm Wiseman. This is the Dark Sun Over Value Network. Thank you for being here. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, that one's done.